Hey everyone, I'm Carly. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a cross stitcher, a knitter, a spinner, and a natural dyer, and this is my FlossTube. Hi! It's been a minute. Kind of. I'm posting this my usual amount of time, typically about mid-month. But I have been taking a little bit of a break from social media. Um, yeah, I'm trying to find a balance between um, not being uninformed, but also not being overwhelmed. And for me, that has looked like taking a lot of time away from the internet, um, at least social media spaces, and really throwing myself into things that I can directly impact in my own offline world. Um, whether that's creative projects with other people, growing a dye garden, uh, mutual aid uh, projects and opportunities. It's been great. It's been messy and busy and beautiful and a little bit exhausting. So that has kind of affected my capacity for online engagement, and that's okay. Um, haven't really been on Instagram much for the past few weeks. If I get a message, I respond, but not spending too much time there. Haven't been on TikTok at all. Giving it up for Lent. And yeah, I've also not really been engaging much in the comment section on FlossTubes, and I think I might take a break from watching FlossTubes for a while too. Um, I do plan to continue making FlossTubes. I love the documenting of my work, and I like getting to speak about what I'm doing. It kind of helps me process plans and such. And also just it's fun for me, I think, to look back and see what I was into at different points in my life. So that'll still be happening. You just might not get a response from me immediately, if at all. If you do choose to leave a comment. So, and this isn't an apology, it's just an explanation. It's just letting you know I'm okay. I just need a break, and I don't know how long that break's going to be. So, I love you, and I'm glad you're here. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Just really, really trying to be IRL right now, and avoid some paralysis that I have experienced in the past when I spend too much time doom scrolling, etc. So I am going to share several knitting finishes, all very exciting, of course. First, I have this hat. I combined a couple of different hat patterns. Oh my god, it's so good. This is exactly the kind of hat that I would have wanted to wear in high school. Oh yeah. High school Carly is flipping out right now. She's so happy. And so is current Carly. Yeah, the first version I knit was like not as slouchy as I wanted, so I think added a few more rows and looked at a few different patterns. So right now I can't even like tell you which one it is, but I used a fingering weight wool from Rosa Pomar. The base is Mondum, and yeah, it's super light. I think if I'd used like a heavier yarn, it would have kind of stayed in place a little easier. But I can like tuck it into place and then velcros to my hair and it stays. But I really like it. Keeps me like just the right amount of warm. And some days I want a little more volume now that I don't have hair. And this is just that like nice added extra to kind of balance out the rest of my body with my tiny, tiny head. So that's one. And it makes me, I feel so good in it. I feel like, yeah, it's how I want to look. I love it. Next, I finished my second pair of lambing mitts by Veronica Job. This is made with Peace Fleece in a gorgeous heather gray. I forget the name of the base or the color, but I think it's in my Ravelry. Yeah, made similar modifications as I did to the first pair, just making the thumb a little rolly moment, and then making this roll a little bit longer. Yeah, and I finished both of them. The other one is just not with me because you only need to see one. I love this color so much more than the turquoise pair. I thought the turquoise was beautiful. It wasn't for me in terms of like what I would want to wear. So yes, totally into it. And then I have a very, very big knitting finish. I have a lot of feelings about it, and just kind of like I'm not quite sure what I want to do with it next. You can see it behind me. I did finish my Find Your Flock sweater by Brienne Moody, and my goal with it was to, one, knit a sweater, and two, try out some yarns I hadn't tried in the shop where I work, and I accomplished both those things. Whether or not I will wear this sweater is still a bit of a mystery. My gauge, so like how big my stitches are, differs on different parts of the sweater. So it's very loose up top where all the sort of color work is, and then because I was really overcompensating, I think I didn't want it to be too tight, because that can happen when you're doing color work. And then the rest of my gauge is like my normal gauge throughout, so it kind of is like a little bit of an inverted triangle. And I'll show it to you. Just giving an explanation for why I'm a little not sure what I want to do with it. I also, it's a sponcho style, so like a sweater poncho combo, which means the armpits are pretty low. I had initially planned to do like a typical traditional sweater fit, but it was my first sweater, and I didn't think it would fit me under the armpits. Like it wasn't long enough, and I was a little unsure how I wanted to proceed with that, so I just decided to do the swancho, like knowing it definitely would fit me that way. And it does fit. I even like ripped out the bottom hem, the ribbing, and restitched that much longer than was called for, because it's a pretty croppy, not super croppy, but croppier than I prefer sweater. And yeah, I've tried to make it work for me, but I don't think it's gonna be a staple in my wardrobe. I might be able to block it so that the bottom stretches and is a little more uniform with the top, but right now when I wear it, it just feels like the word feminine comes to mind, and that's like not my preference for how I want to express myself right now. So I will show it to you. I am very proud with how it turned out. This is it. I learned a lot. I learned some new bind off techniques to make it a little stretchier. I, of course, got to practice more color work. I learned the importance of alternating skeins when you're using indie dyed yarn. And I learned how to make a sweater. That was the goal. But you can see how it's like much bigger at the top and like skinnier on the bottom, which is like partially the style and partially my gauge. Like, look how big these stitches are compared to these. Like, I don't know if you can see. I can see a pretty big difference. So it's not uniform throughout. And again, if I block it, which means like get it wet and stretch it into shape basically, I probably could make this bigger, this bottom part. But either way, I don't really like the style. Like, and now I know that, and that's fine. I just don't feel good when I'm wearing it. So maybe I'll unravel it and use the yarn for something else. I have no problem doing that. I'm no stranger to that. Maybe I'll save it so I have my first sweater and I can like look back when I make other sweaters that do feel more like affirming and good for my body and how I want to present. But yeah, I'm really happy that I got to do it with a group. I did that one because one of my coworkers who taught me how to spin was teaching the class, and I was like, well, if she's teaching it, then I'll be okay. And I got to meet other people who were doing it and see their work, and it was really cool. So yeah, I'm glad I did it, and I have a lot of ideas for other sweaters I want to do in the future. The future of this one kind of is uncertain, but right now it's done, and I'm not sure I'm going to knit anything for a little while. I really want to get back to spinning, but we'll see. Cool. I also have a little finish that is kind of stitchy. At the stitching group I'm a part of within the craft guild I'm a member of, one of the members brought a bunch of like felt and a whole bag of these crocheted flowers she had found at a flea market, and safety pins so we could make name tags. And this was mine, and I love it so much. Yeah, I just picked sizes that were kind of already cut and didn't trace my name. I just started going for it, and it feels very Catherine from Neat and Knot, and that's kind of what I love about it. I just went for it. It was really, really fun. So that's my little name tag, my gigantic name tag, I should say. But yeah, that was a blast. Okay, cross stitch finishes. Cool. So I am trying to complete 24 cross stitch finishes this year because I had 23 last year. So I want to see if I can beat my my score. And yeah, so I needed a quick one for February. So I did Primitive Merry Christmas. This is just in my stash. I picked this up at a fiber festival event that the guild had in October, and it's by Chartmakers. So they had a box of free cross-stitch patterns because there aren't really any cross-stitchers in the guild aside from me. I'm sure they're out there. They just haven't come to the stitching group meetings, which is fine. Anyway, there was a lot to choose from because I appeared to be the only one pulling from the bin. And this is how it turned out. I stitched this 1/2 on a 32 count Witchelt. And I remember when I finished stitching it, I was a little disappointed in the coverage. I had tried doing 2/2 and it was too thick. It's really actually pretty much exclusively backstitch. It is. There's like a couple X's here and there, like in the corners, but the rest of it is, maybe tent stitch and backstitch, you might say. But it felt a little too delicate for how thick this fabric is. However, having put it away for almost a month, I think it looks fine. I do want to make it into a long pillow, like how it is in here. Maybe not that exact finish, but filling it with like walnut shells or something I think would be really cool. Next, I have a little cutie baby finish. My friend Meg's birthday is this Friday, and she loves the song Chicago by Sufjan Stevens, who I had never really listened to before, but I've been listening to the song a lot. Meg is one of the first friends I made after I moved here, and I just want to give her a little something. She also just got a new job, so this will hopefully be a welcome addition to her new little office space, but this is it. So this is a line from the song, and the colors are supposed to match like the decor she is choosing for her office. So yeah, I think it is so adorable. The border came from a book that another guild member gave me. She had this whole stack of like Scandinavian sort of like folkloric motifs from like the 80s, and she just gave them to me, which was so nice. So that was in there, just a monochrome, and I picked the colors, and then the font comes from one of those generator websites. So it's really fun. It only took a few hours, and I think it's really adorable, and I hope she likes it. So my last cross stitch finish was a surprise start, but it was a really quick stitch. This was another, like, I wanted something to finish, but I finished it Sunday. And it's Earthly Treasures by Plum Street. Been on a real Plum Street kick lately. Real Plum Street kick lately. But yeah, I'm trying to stitch some of my older patterns because I do not want to end up with a stash of patterns that I don't care for anymore. My tastes change, and I want to make sure that I'm like stitching stuff when I get it-ish, because I don't just want to like wind up spending all this money and then being like, oh, I actually don't like any of this. So this is one of the first patterns I ever purchased, and I love how it turned out. I just kind of used the picture to choose my thread colors, and here it is. This is stitched in a 32 count Lugana from Fortnite. And I really like that sentiment. It is based on a Bible quote, and I'm not religious, but I studied religion in school, and like my family's Catholic, so I like have been around it. You know, I have some feelings about the Bible, but this is based on a Bible quote that I really like. So yeah, basically the takeaway is like, don't be materialistic because it's not going to matter later on. And I think that's a great reminder for me personally. So, yeah, I like, look at this little cutie face. I got to use up some fancy floss in here. I've been trying to like pick projects where I can like use a whole skein of fancy floss. I just want to kind of like make sure that I'm using it and not just collecting it. So I can get it out of my stash and get some more and try out different brands and things like that. But yeah, this was one of those like stash busters. I used Tin Bucket from Gentle Art. So all gone. Okay. Whips. Yeah. So next I have Kind Kapal, which has really just become something I look forward to every month. It's tempting to do kind of the whole thing at once because it's so relaxing. But I've been good. I know it doesn't matter, but I like having something to look forward to. So I've been trying to practice self-control. I don't always make it to the first of the month to start the next piece. I kind of like, this was the March piece that I did the last couple days of February. But it is just so fun. Look at that. And it's gorgeous. I'm so into it. Yeah. More patterns like these, I think I need to do. They don't necessarily, and I've said this before, they don't like catch my eye when I'm scrolling around. I typically go for more like prim stuff, or primsicle stuff, but when I'm stitching this, it's so much more fun, I think, than some of the prim stuff I've worked on. Yeah, and I think it's because it's like knitting, because you can do like a repetitive thing once you get into the groove and you don't have to look at the pattern. So yeah, that was Kind Kapal. All right, I looked around to see if I had more whips that I've actually worked on, and I don't think I do, aside from this one. So we're just gonna finish off with this. I showed you Earthly Treasures. Now get ready for Sweet Pleasures, the pattern. This is one where I've shared I don't care for the sentiment, so I chose a quote that resonated more with me, and I'm going to talk about that today in a little more detail. So I actually started working on this one again yesterday after having put it down last month because I finally went and got the floss for it, and I'm really excited to get going again now that I have the floss. It is a lot of color changes, I guess more so than some of the other stuff I've been working on, but I tend to go for like the biggest chunks of color first when I'm doing a pattern and move down from there in terms of like amount of color. This is on a 32 count Lugana from Fortnite. And the quote I've chosen, I've only stitched part of it, but it says, let this radicalize you rather than lead you to despair. And I started stitching that back in February before a lot of things happened that sort of drove me off the internet. But I'm really glad I started stitching it then because Dee kind of touched on this in their recent video. Sometimes when things are happening that you feel are out of your control or you see injustices occurring, it can be paralyzing, especially on social media. And for me, at one point in my life, just reposting and posting things on my like Instagram stories, for example, that felt like I was doing something, and maybe it was reaching people in my life who perhaps hadn't considered certain things before. I don't really know. However, that's no longer enough for me. And I really liked that quote, but knew that it would feel disingenuous to stitch that if I wasn't living it. So yeah, I had it in my back pocket and I was like, you got to earn this quote. You need to earn it, because I didn't just want to stitch it because I liked it. I wanted it to be a reminder. And it is. I want to talk more about Mariame Kaba, who that quote is from. The quote's not actually in this book, but this is a great book. I have other quotes from her that I've marked that I might want to stitch later. You might have seen Mariame Kaba's name pop up, especially summer 2020, particularly in regards to defunding or abolishing the police. And this book is a collection of essays, articles, interviews, short stories by Mariame Kaba, who has done a lot of work on that kind of thing in her own community and just like broadly. I'm covering up the title. It's called We Do This Till We Free Us, and the subtitle is Abolitionist Organizing and Transformative Justice. I think, especially in times where things feel overwhelming and potentially paralyzing because of all the injustices that are occurring in the world at large, in your own community, this is a really great book. From like a logistical perspective, I don't know about you, but reading has become extremely difficult for me over the past like 10 or so years. My attention span is just like shot to hell, which is a real tragedy. I used to read all the time, but this book was, I don't want to say manageable, because I don't necessarily want to be like, oh, it's like packaged up in a way that makes it palatable, because it is some very like heavy stuff to take in, but I will say each little piece is maybe 3 to 6 pages long, so it felt for me less overwhelming to read a lot of it. It was like watching a bunch of like episodes of a show instead of a whole movie. I don't know if you have that situation, but sometimes that just feels easier for whatever reason. But there's still a lot to chew on within those like short pieces. My main takeaway from this book is that yes, things suck. And yes, there are institutions and structures in place that are designed to make you feel like it sucks and that you can't do anything about it, so you don't do anything about it. That's the whole point. They don't want you to. But the fact that you got to identify that, sure, but you also have to hope that there is something better, and not in the like, oh, we can be anything we can imagine and dream, and kind of like, I don't know, but also that, it gave me a lot of hope, like, kind of the possibilities are endless, and we don't have to know exactly what we're going to do. We just have to start doing something. You just have to start. And I think that was my main takeaway, is like, just do something. And then that turns into more somethings, and then you meet other people who are also doing something, and then it just can snowball from there, and you can build the world that you want to see with each other. And it's not necessarily going to happen quickly. Might not happen in your lifetime. It's not going to be like, clean cut, straightforward, easy peasy. But like, what is that's worth it, like, so yeah, again, like, lots of things going on both right now and all the time. This is a great book to, I don't know, maybe make you feel like you can do something about it, maybe, in your own community, and that has ripple effects. So that's what I will say for now. I know this isn't usually a booktube, but I really, especially with me kind of like, I couldn't be on social media, like, I guess it was the end of last month. I don't know. I've like lost track of time. I really just knew that I was susceptible to that immobilization, and like, I had to make sure I was actually doing things before I got overwhelmed with seeing all the stuff that was happening. And like, frankly, take your pick with what I'm talking about, as per usual. But yeah. So that's my recommendation to you, is Miriam Cava, We Do This Till You Free Us. If you don't want to do a whole book, a lot of her stuff is online, because it is little articles and essays and stuff. She's been around for a while. So anyway, that's that. Okay. Usually I show a former finish and a family finish at the end of my videos. I don't have a former finish today, but I have some friendship finishes. In the spirit of like celebrating community and crafts and togetherness, and just like really leaning into loving the people who I love, I want to show you some things that my friends have made me over the past couple months. This is like kind of new to me, so I just want to brag about all of them. So this is the first cross stitch, besides from like my grandma and my aunt. This is my first cross stitch I received as an adult from someone, and it's from my friend Emily. She worked with me at the knitting shop. She's sadly moving away. But at one point we joked that we should have a podcast called The Knitiots and the Cityot, and so she stitched us. That's me and my shawl that I've shown before, and we're holding a little ball of yarn between us, and that was the sweetest little Christmas gift I've ever received. That's not true. It was one of the sweetest little Christmas gifts I've ever received, and I have it on my desk. It's like, I love it. I love it. And then my friend Alyssa, who is a friend that I've made since moving here, who's also frickin' moving away. All my like crafty friends my age who I've made since moving here are like deuces, which is a shame, but it just means I will be able to meet more friends. She has been embroidering, and she made this little thing. I did buy this from her. She was selling them on, selling a couple of them, and I was like, well, I would like to pay the artist. But it's cute. It's so cool. She just like freehanded that. Yeah, she's doing lots of very cool crafty things. She just likes to try things, but then she gets like really good at them. So it's been cool to see that. And then last is something, oh my God, my heart. I got a surprise package the other day. I don't know if you remember, I showed you, is it a Witchy Stitcher pattern? The little Grim Reaper, killing it. My friend Shona had asked me to make that for her birthday, and I did. And she has been learning how to crochet, which I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I'd love to talk about that sometime. I don't really crochet, but I need to learn more about it, la la la. Shona is a friend from when I used to live in Washington, D.C. We actually worked together. She was actually my intern. And now we are like peers. Thank goodness. But let me show you what Shona made for me. She sent me this. I just feel like another friend said I look like the gayest little Fruit Loop with this on, and it's true. I wore this yesterday to go to the grocery store, and I got outside and it was like hot, and I was like, too bad. The world has to see this. But it's just like, I have never received, I mean, I may have, not in recent memory have I received a homemade gift in the mail unexpectedly. Like, that is just so special. And I know a lot of you understand that because a lot of you like do give stitchy kindness and receive stitchy kindness, and that is something that I would like to do eventually, is to send stuff out and things like that. But just, like, she made me an entire scarf. And I don't think it's necessarily rainbow order, but it just feels very gay, and I love it. Oh, anyway, I'm obsessed. And it's perfect because, like, everything I wear is black usually, so it'll go with everything. Yeah, so that's my friendship finishes, because I love my friends, and I'm gonna miss them when they leave, / I miss them since I've left, and I'm excited to keep making more friends and building community with people and just finding more crafters in the world. So, all right. This has been kind of a low energy video. That's okay. That's just where I'm at right now. So, in summation, I'm fine. Just taking a little break. I love you. Have hope that we can do better. Not, toxic positivity, but it is possible for things to change, and don't let the structures and the systems that make you feel like it's impossible for things to change win. That is my summary. All right, bye.